Hamid was a poor little boy living with his grandmother in a small village. His parents had died when he was very young, and since then his grandmother had taken care of him with all the love and care she could offer. Though life wasn't easy for them, Hamid never felt deprived. He was surrounded by his grandmother's warmth, and she did everything she could to ensure he had what he needed, even though they were struggling. It was the day of Eid, a day of celebration and joy for Muslims. The streets of the village were alive with excitement as children and adults prepared for the Eid prayers at the Eidgah, the open space where everyone gathers for the special prayers. The air was filled with the scent of freshly baked sweets, new clothes, and laughter. For most children it was a day of indulgence, new clothes, toys, and sweets to enjoy. But Hamid was different. His grandmother had given him a small amount of money to buy something for himself, but it wasn't much. The other children in the village laughed at Hamid as they noticed he wasn't carrying any sweets, toys, or treats. He didn't have the new clothes that others wore, and he didn't seem to mind. Hamid wasn't sad, and he didn't feel left out. His heart wasn't focused on the material things the others had. He had something more important on his mind. Hamid loved his grandmother deeply, and he knew she had sacrificed so much for him. Every day she worked hard to make sure he had food to eat, even though she had so little. Her hands were old and frail, but they worked tirelessly. One of the hardest tasks for her was making roti, the flatbread that was a staple in their meals. She would make the dough and roll out the roti, but when it came time to flip them on the hot tawa, she had no proper chimtawa to use. She often burned her fingers, but she never complained. Hamid noticed this, and it pained him to see her suffer silently. He wished there was something he could do to make her life easier. As he walked with the other children towards the Eidgah, his thoughts were consumed by his grandmother's pain. While everyone else was thinking about their toys and sweets, Hamid thought about the simple gift he could buy to help her. His grandmother had given him the money with the hope that he would enjoy the holiday, but Hamid had a different plan. When the prayers were over and the other children rushed to the market to buy toys, sweets, and treats, Hamid walked slowly through the bazaar. He wasn't interested in any of those things. Instead, his eyes searched for something he could buy that would help his grandmother. He found what he was looking for: a chimta, a pair of tongs used to handle hot rotis. It wasn't something that would excite a child, but it was exactly what Hamid needed to make his grandmother's life easier. Without hesitation, Hamid spent every last bit of the money his grandmother had given him to buy the chimta. He didn't feel a moment of regret or sadness for not buying himself sweets or a toy. All he cared about was that his grandmother would no longer burn her fingers when making roti. When Hamid returned home, his grandmother was waiting for him. She asked him what he had bought, and with a proud smile, Hamid showed her the chimta. His grandmother was at first surprised. She looked at the simple tool in his hands, and then, slowly, a tear rolled down her cheek. She understood immediately. Hamid hadn't bought a treat for himself. Instead, he had bought something that would make her life a little easier, something that would save her from the pain of burning her fingers while cooking. Hamid's simple act of love and sacrifice moved his grandmother deeply. The other children had enjoyed sweets, played with their toys, but Hamid had learned something far more important. He had learned that the greatest happiness comes from giving, especially when it's for someone you love. He had given his grandmother not just a gift, but a way to ease her pain. Though Hamid had very little to his name, he was rich in kindness and love. In that moment, he proved that true joy doesn't come from material things. It comes from acts of love, sacrifice, and selflessness. And in that small, simple chimta, Hamid had given his grandmother a gift that would stay with her forever. A gift of love that no amount of sweets or toys could ever replace.